The progress and struggles of the cause. Jihadin Fisabil is the Arabic way of translating the last part of that. This composition differs from that in 30 as descending from the more general to the more particular, and from the doctrinal to the practical. One might even trace an immediate connection or vata occurring in the last verse of the one and in the first of the other. It is, of course, very possible that the verses before us are only a remnant of those which originally constituted the piece, and here and there one may have been interpolated from other scriptures. Some writers prefer to assume a loss of the original text or an addition to it at the smallest change of a tone, and to assume also a change of subject with it. I do not regard it as very useful to lay too much stress upon these occurrences, whether caused by gaps or interpolations. They do not at all affect the fact that the subject matter is homogeneous and contemporaneous, and probably, like many more modern compositions, the verses gain in rhetorical effect by being weeded of repetitions. We might divide as follows: 1, 2, an address to the congregation to be connected with 30 as its concluding words, 3 to 5, an address to Ahura, 6, and an address to the faithful, 7 to 17. To Ahura, 18, to the congregation, 18, to Ahura, 20 and 21, to the congregation, 22, in addition. Treating the section, then, as containing homogeneous matter, which combines well into a unit, I proceed as follows. The sage chants his hymn in the presence of the multitude as before. 1. He declares that while he is reciting things unwillingly heard by the hostile party, those same truths are valued as the best of existing things by those who are sincerely devoted to Mazda, their good disposition quickening their perception. 2. He then declares that if the truths of the holy religion are not yet clearly seen by the instrumentalities provided, he will approach them still more effectively in accordance with the especial regulation of the spiritual chieftainship, which Ahura Mazda has prepared in response to the lament of the soul of the kine, i.e. of the Iranian herds and people, possibly as representing the entire holy or clean creation upon the earth. And he further asserts that this regulation concerns the struggle of the two parties and will bring the cause of the righteous order to a successful issue. And remember, the thing where people can't convert, that's much later. The Parsis were the first people in the Mazda Zarathustra tradition to have claimed such things, as far as I can tell. 3. Changing his address to Ahura, he proceeds to pray at once for the satisfying decision which would be the natural result of the regulation just promised, and which could be given by the instrumentality of the sacred fire and holy ritual, affording mental keenness to the two contending parties. And he declares that this is the doctrine which should be proclaimed for the conversion of mankind. Here we observe that Zarathustrian Mazda worship was aggressive and missionary in its spirit, and in a proselytizing sense, by no means indifferent to the final destiny of the Gentile world. Well, to use the Judeo-Christian way of speaking, they wouldn't quite phrase it like that. The latter and traditional system announced indeed the restoration and so the conversion of all men, and that not as an object proposed to the efforts of charity, but as a necessary result. So by inference, see Bundahis. I can find no trace of this in the Gathas. Here we have only the effort to convert. 4. Addressing all the bountiful immortals, and with the striking title of the Ahuras of Mazda, he prays for the establishment of the mighty kingdom, by means of which he might overcome the personified and aggressive falsehood of the opposing and persecuting Avesta worshippers, the Yasnas, or Davas Yasnas. I'm not sure what the exact form is. 5. In order to enable himself to fulfill his mission, he asks for prophetic and judicial knowledge as to what ought to be done, or as to what is about to happen in the immediate future. 6. He lauds the mantra, which we may suppose him to recognize as delivered to him afresh in answer to his prayer for prophetic light, and he praises coordinately with the word of God that the sovereign authority of Ahura, which was to be established in a kingdom where goodness would increase and be prosperous, if not predominant. 7. He takes the heavenly bodies as evidence of the wisdom of him who created the sacred order, personified as the immortal Asha, and also the good mind, his equal. And he ascribes the support and extension of their hallowing influence to Ahura, because he never changes. 8. He reiterates in expressions which form the basis for another hymn his conception of Mazda as the supreme object of devotion, as the father of the good mind personified in his child, as the creator of the righteous order, and as both the controller and the judge of human actions. Therefore, the good mind and righteousness are to be worshipped as standing in the closest possible relation to him. 9. He ascribes the immortal piety to him as well. She is his own and elsewhere his own daughter. He is declared, as in chapter 29, to be the creator of the kind and the understanding, and of understanding his own intelligence, to guide him in the disposition of the destiny of the holy Iranian people, and according to it he makes the path for the kind, which, as a matter of course, has no meaning as applied to the bucolics, but is full of meaning when read in view of the wail of the kind soul in chapter 29, and of the intervention of the deity in her behalf. 4. He actually appointed Zarathustra to meet her necessities. He adds, however, that her free choice is not abolished by the construction of this path. It is elsewhere called the religion of the Savior prophets, and she is free to proceed in it, guided by the first prophet, the ideal husbandman, or she can follow the profaner nomad. 10. But he thankfully exclaims that she does not pause in indecision, nor does she choose perversely. She selects the guardian appointed by Ahura, the diligent and pious husbandman, elsewhere identified with Zarathustra himself. He is rich with the spiritual wealth of the good mind, and she rejects in his favor the idle and free-booting nomad, excluding him from all share in the sacred religious system. 11. The composer then delineates the struggle which inevitably follows this establishment of the needed means of deliverance, when Mazda has completed the inspiration of doctrines teaching whether the one endowed with free volition, like the kind, in verse 9, should direct his choice in action. 12. There, upon the spot, as it were, the ignorant Deva worshipper makes himself heard beside God's spokesman, but the prophet is consoled by the reflection that the pious mind will not question the evil spirit, or the good spirit superficially. It searches both the spirits, questioning them, as it were, in their very home. Hence, it is that Ahura speaks so fully concerning Angra Mainyu, delineating his opposition to him in extended detail. And see 45, verse 2. 13. The composer is still more reanimated by the certainty that Ahura is gazing into the depths of all questions, trivial and profound, which is to say that he observes most closely the men who are discussing them, and he declares that he also sees the cruel injustice of the punishments which the tyrants visit upon the smallest offenses, as well as the more flagrant wickedness of those who persecute his adherents without even a pretense of justice. 14. As he recalls the divine forecasting omniscience, he asks Ahura once more concerning the future, which was close at hand, with its portentous events. He inquires as to the nature of the veritable, not iniquitous confessions, which were properly due to be made by the righteous believer, in order to avert the impending calamities and secure the upper hand as the struggle for the throne. And he inquires also as to the proper expiatory prayers which are to be offered by the believer. He does not, however, fail to inquire analogously concerning the wicked, nor to ask how they, as well as for the righteous, shall be situated in the final consummation. 15. Particularizing as to the latter, he asks, what shall be the punishment for those who succeed in installing an evil monarch, one of the Da'ava party, a prince who cannot exist without the ruthless persecution of the pious husbandman, who repudiates the lie demon presiding over the counsels and efforts of the opposing religion. 16. He further asks how, and by what actions, the wise man may become like Ahura, or his faithful adherent. The expressions used imply deep religious feeling. 17. Striving to arouse the perceptions of his hearers, he inquires as to which of the two parties holds to the greater or more important religion, the disciple of Asha, the personified righteous order, Ahura's immediate creature, Zeuv, or the opponent, and he prays that no blind guide may deceive him, or that those who belong to him, but that the enlightened, yea, even Ahura himself, may speak to him and become the indicator and demonstrator of the truth. 18. Closing this address to the deity, he turns to the congregation, vehemently forbidding them to listen to the doctrines of the opponents, warning them against the ruin and death which would ensue, and fiercely appealing to the sword. Well, not that people fought just to convert. That's not right. Not in this case, anyways. There was self-defense and stuff going on, as we see indicated a bunch of places, anyways. 19. Once more addressing Ahura, he prays that they may, on the contrary, listen to him, who has power to vindicate the conscientious Zarathustrian, inculcating veracity upon him, and encouraging him in its practice, and this by means of the holy sacrifice, or ordeal of the fire. 20. He solemnly warns those who would seduce the righteous of their ultimate fate, and adds that their sorrows will be self-induced if they persevere in their hostility. Their own consciences, as we see from Yast 22, would not only bring on their ruin, but would form a part of their punishment. 21. On the other hand, happiness and immortality will be the lot of the faithful, and these eternal too will be given to them, accompanied by the fullness of righteousness, and the exuberant vigor of the good and kindly mind within them, and bestowing its blessings upon them. 22. In conclusion, he apostrophizes the manifest certainty of the truths which he declares, and addressing Ahura, animates the faithful, not merely with the hope of the objective recompense, but with the prospect of being efficient as servants of God. Translation. 1. These doctrines, therefore, we are earnestly declaring to you, as we recite them forth from memory, words, till now, unheard, of faith, by those who, by means of the doctrinal vows of the harmful lie, are delivering the settlements of righteousness to death, but words which are of the best unto those who are heartily devoted to Ahura. 2. And if by this means the indubitable truths are not seen in the soul, then as better than these words, I will come to you all in my person, with that power, and in that way according to which Ahura Mazda knows and appoints his ruler, that ruler over both the two struggling bands, in order that we, in obedience to him, may live according to righteousness. 3. and that keenness, that deciding satisfaction which thou hast given by thy Spirit and thy fire and by thy righteousness itself to the two battling sides, do thou declare unto us, O Ahura, that vow which is for the seeing, as those endowed with mental light. Yea, do thou declare this, that we may know it, O Mazda, with the tongue of thy mouth do thou speak it, that as I preach its mighty truths, I may make all the living believers. 4. And when the divine righteousness shall be inclined to my appeal, and with him all those remaining ones who are as Mazda's own Ahuras, then with the blessedness of the reward, with my piety, and with thy best mind active within me, I will pray for that mighty kingdom by whose force we may smite the lie demon. 5. A. Do thou tell me that I may discern it, since through thy righteous order the better lot is given. Tell me this, that I may know it with thy good mind, as it speaks within me, and that I may ponder that to which these my truths belong, and of which my prophet speaks. Yea, tell me those things, O Mazda Ahura, which may not be, and which may be. 6. And that verily shall be the best of all words to him, which the all-wise one will declare to me in very deed, that word which is the mantra of welfare and of immortality, for it proclaims his beneficent power, and to the great Creator shall there be a realm such as that, whose strength I ask for victory. Whose strength I ask for victory, and which at the last shall flourish in its holiness to his glory. 7. For he has sovereign control, he who conceived of these truths of the mantra as their first inspirer, and as he thought their existence, they all, as his glorious conceptions first, clothe themselves in the stars. He is, through his understanding, the creator of the righteous order, and thus likewise he supports his beneficent mind and his saints, and these holy creatures mayest thou cause to prosper by thy Spirit, since they are thine own. O Ahura Mazda, thou who art for every hour the same. 8. Therefore, as the first, did I conceive of thee, O Ahura Mazda, as the one to be adored with the mind in the creation, as the Father of the good mind within us, when I beheld thee with my enlightened eyes, as to the veritable maker of our righteousness, as the Lord of the actions of life. 9. Thine, O Ahura, was piety, yea, thine, O Creator of the kind, was understanding and the Spirit, when thou didst order a path for her guiding. From the earth's tiller, aided, she goeth in that allotted way, or from him who was never tiller, thy path hath given her a choice. 10. But she did not pause in temptation. Of the two she chose, the husbandman, the thrifty toiler in the fields, as a holy master endowed with the good mind's wealth. Never, Mazda, shall the thieving nomad share the good creed, for the kind's choice would bestow it. 11. And this doctrine was the first of the rules to regulate our actions, yet the opposer speaks besides thee. For when first, O Ahura Mazda, thou didst create the holy settlements, and didst reveal the religious laws, and when thou gavest us understanding from thine own mind, and madest our full bodily life, and didst thus determine actions by thy power, and didst moreover deliver to us nearer injunctions, whereby as by rule, the wisher may place his choices. 12. There strife that once arose, and still is raging. There, beside thy prophet. The truthful or liar, the enlightened or unenlightened, lifts his voice, utter his faith, and with devoted mind and heart, but without hindrance from this striving or pausing, with feeble search, or piety steadily questions the two spirits, not here on earth, but there in the spirit world, where they dwell as in their home. 13. Yea, my piety questions, searchingly for thou, O Maker, hast thy view on all. We cannot question lightly. What questions are asked, which are open, permitted to our thoughts? Or what questions are asked, which are furtive, hiding themselves from the light? Or what decision soever we make, and the man who for the smallest sin binds on the heaviest penance of all, with thy glittering eye as a righteous guard thou art gazing. 14. This, then, I will ask thee, O Haramasta, as I seek thy counsel once again. What events are coming now, and what events shall come in the future, and what prayers with debt confessions are offered with the offerings of the holy, and what are the awards for the wicked, and how shall they be in the final state of completion? 15. And I would ask thee this. And I would ask thee this, O Masta, concerning the coadjutor of the wicked. What is the award for him who prepares the throne, for the evildoer, O Ahura, for him who cannot else reclaim his life, nor else save with lawless harm to the tillage herd, to the pious husbandman's flock, who speaks no word with lying, who abjures the lie demon's faith? 16. Yea, I would ask thee such a thing as this, how such an one as he who with wise action has striven to promote thy holy rule over house and region and province in the righteous order and in truth, how he may become like thee, O Creator, living Lord. And when he may so become, this also I would ask, and in what actions living he may also so be. 17. And which of the religions is the greater and the more prevailing as to these questions which thus concern the soul? Is it that which the righteous believers are the wicked? Let then our questionings cease. Let the enlightened alone speak to the enlightened. Let not the ignorant further deceive us. High though he may lift his voice, do thou thyself, O Ahura Mazda, declare to us the truth, as thy good mind's full revealer. 18. And you, ye assembled throngs, let not a man of you lend a hearing to Mathra, or to command of that sinner, ignorant as he is. For the home, village, region, and province he would deliver to ruin and death, but fly ye to arms without hearing, and hew ye them all with the halberd. Halberd? Okay. 19. Let them hear him who conceived of the righteous order for the worlds, the all-wise one, O Ahura. For truthful speech he rules with absolute sway over words, and ever free of tongue to guide us in our way. By thy shining flame he doth guide us, thine altar's flame, with its signs of decision and of grace, sent forth for the good of the strivers. 20. But O ye listening men, he who renders the saint deceived, for him shall be later destruction, long life shall be his lot in the darkness. Foul shall be his food, his speech shall be the lowest, and this, which is such a life as your own, O ye vile, your perverted conscience, through your own deeds, will bring you. 21. But Ahura Mazda will give both universal weal and immortality in the fullness of his righteous order, and from himself as the head of dominion within his saints. And he will likewise give the good mind's vigorous might to him who in spirit and deeds is his friend, and with faith fulfills his vows. 22. And to the wise are these things clear as to the one discerning with his mind, not blinded by the perverter. With thy good mind and thy holy kingdom, he follows the righteous order, both in his words and his actions. And to thee, O Ahura Mazda, such a man shall be the most helpful and vigorous being, for he serves with every power. For he serves with every power. I keep messing up that parentheses, not parentheses. At least I catch it right. So we're going to continue. Aren't we in the doctrine of dualism as far as the comment's concerned? Okay, we are in prayers chiefly for grace and for the words of revelation. And $128. We are for our daily food, give us our daily bread, that sort of thing, are well reaching their aim. But the Pahlavi translator gives us evidence for the meaning food. Kur isno recall the constant prayers for nourishment in the riks, and as favoring the ancient translation, see 29:7, where food for the eaters is declared to be the gift of God, who is at the same time bounteous with his doctrine. And towards the end, or the objects of desire, now Yosang has Evamye, Dharmasya, Vettara, Uta Masyaka, Dater Manasa, Eka Atleya, Mahagnanin, Svamin, Tabya, Purnam, Parak in Nohe, Kamam, Kila, Subam, Tabya, Kuru, Avamka, Negisne, Analaso, Labatam, Kadyana, Vastranika, Vadanena. And grace will protect in verse 12 there. One is tempted to read Nepa Unga as an infinitive, but the Pahlavi translation anticipates us all with the more critical Bara Netrunam. And the primeval world arose. Meryosang has improving upon the Pahlavi as follows: Yada Sunirikshanataya Dharmam Palayame Manaska Utamam Sada Pravritaya Kilaket Sakyasya Sadvyaparasyaka Raksham Karome Devam Tat Maha Gnanin Svamin Prakrishtam Me Sikshapaya Vaka Adrisya Tavato Ukena Spoteya, Antar, Bovana, Puram, Babova, Tam, Srishtim me Brohe. A translation truly remarkable considering the circumstance under which it was made, and it's also notable that the name Engrama Inu does not occur in the section, the doctrine of dualism. And a lot of this stuff, it's like, well, we try to look back and say, well, how would have we composed it? And, well, the tradition, we may not have even heard about it as some of the things that people go back and say, well, could have been back then. Consider how much time would be required for the name of Zarathustra to become so involved in the myth. And 134. The temptation of Zarathustra himself. This is the comment preparing us for verse 6. As the Ahuras of Mazda, the Amesho spends, the archangels. So you become like unto the angels, totally submissive to God, basically, is the idea. As Ish means approaching with desire, the Pahlavi translator has furly Kvahisno. And we read Mazdatha in the place of the anima diversions. Anim adversions, okay. Which pertain to him who knows all things whatsoever, the praise, and I pray, and that looks like too long of a note to include here, so next program.